Hello, my friend. Wherever you are in the world, welcome. Maybe you're watching this from a quiet kitchen in Turkey, or a sunny park in Brazil, or a cozy bedroom in Vietnam, Egypt, Mexico. By the way, tell me from which country you are watching this video. Wherever you are, this space is for you. At Cozy English, we believe that learning English should feel like a warm cup of tea, not a cold exam. So sit back, take a breath. This is your moment, your time to grow gently at your own pace. Today, I want to share something personal, my grammar story. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. So let's begin this journey together, from my heart to yours. Let's make English feel like home. How I master English grammar. Let me tell you a little secret. I used to be afraid of English grammar. Yes, really afraid. Tenses, prepositions, articles, they all felt like a puzzle I couldn't solve. I would open a grammar book, stare at the rules, and feel lost. Sometimes even sleepy. Sometimes even a little bit stupid. I thought maybe English grammar was only for smart people. Not for me. I thought I just didn't have the brain for it. I remember sitting at my desk, trying to understand the past perfect, the future continuous, the present perfect continuous passive. And I remember thinking, maybe I'll never get it. Maybe English is not for me. But something changed. Not suddenly, not magically, just one small thing, one moment, one person, one idea, and that was enough. Enough to turn fear into curiosity, confusion into play, and grammar? Grammar became my friend. So today, I want to tell you my story. Step by step. Not as a teacher, but as a friend. Someone who was scared, confused, tired, but didn't give up. Because if I can do it, you can too. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to learn everything in one day, but you can start one small step today. And maybe, just maybe, grammar will become your friend too. Are you ready? Let's begin. Let me tell you a secret. I was scared of English grammar. Yes, genuinely scared. When I first started learning English, grammar felt like a big wall. Tall, cold, and impossible to climb. Every time I heard words like present perfect or past continuous, I froze a little inside. It felt like grammar was a test, and I was always failing it. No matter how hard I tried, the rules wouldn't stay in my head. I memorized them before a test, and forgot them the next day. I thought something was wrong with me. I really did. Other students seemed so confident. They could talk about conditionals and modal verbs without blinking. And me? I was still trying to understand when to use a and when to use the. It felt so basic, but I couldn't get it right. I started to believe that maybe I wasn't smart enough to learn English. Sometimes I opened a grammar book and just stared at the page. So many rules, so many exceptions, so many confusing names. I'd read a few lines, then close the book again. My heart would sink. I felt tired, discouraged, and honestly, ashamed. I thought, maybe grammar just isn't for me. But deep inside, I still had a little voice, soft but strong, whispering, "Don't give up." Because I didn't want to speak perfect English. I just wanted to speak freely, confidently, naturally. I wanted to understand movies, write messages, and have real conversations. I wanted to feel like myself, but in English. That desire never left me, even on the hard days, even when I wanted to quit. And looking back, I'm so glad I didn't. Because the fear I had, the fear of grammar, it didn't mean I was weak. It just meant I hadn't found my way of learning yet. And that's exactly what I want to share with you. I memorized everything and forgot it all. I remember school so clearly. My English teacher always said, "You must learn the grammar rules." So I tried. I really did. I memorized everything, the formulas, the charts, the examples. I filled notebook after notebook with grammar patterns. Present perfect equals have, has plus past participle, past continuous equals was, were plus verbing. Before every test, I studied like crazy. I repeated the rules again and again, hoping they would finally make sense. During the test, I could remember most of it. I wrote what I had practiced. But the strange thing was, the next day, it was all gone. My mind felt empty. Everything I worked so hard to learn disappeared. I remember looking at my books and thinking, why? Why do I forget everything so fast? And slowly, a painful idea started growing in my mind. Maybe I wasn't smart enough for this. Maybe grammar just wasn't for me. Maybe I wasn't a language person. I looked at other students. They seemed so confident when they talked about tenses and conditionals. And me? I still struggled with when to use a or the. It was frustrating. Not because I didn't care. I cared deeply. I wanted to learn. I wanted to feel confident. I wanted to speak English without stopping after every sentence, wondering if my grammar was wrong. But grammar felt like sand in my hands. The harder I tried to hold it, the more it slipped away. I started to feel tired, mentally and emotionally. There were days when I didn't even try to study anymore. I thought, what's the point? I'll just forget it again. And that belief, that grammar is impossible, stayed with me for a long time. Not because it was true, but because no one had shown me another way. At that time, I believed grammar was about rules and tests. I didn't know it could be something else. Something soft, something creative, something personal. But that realization came later. It started with a moment I didn't expect, a simple moment that quietly changed everything. Then I saw someone smiling at a grammar book. One afternoon, everything changed. Not my grammar level, but my mindset. I wasn't looking for grammar answers. In fact, I was trying to escape them. I went to the library because I wanted a storybook, something simple, something with no rules or tests, just characters and feelings. But while walking between the shelves, I noticed something strange. There was a man sitting in the corner, maybe in his 40s, maybe a teacher, and he was reading a grammar book, but not with a serious face. He was smiling, as if grammar was a fun novel or a joke he understood. I couldn't help myself. I asked him, "Do you really enjoy grammar?" He looked up at me, kind eyes behind his glasses, and said something I'll never forget. "Yes, because I don't just study grammar. I play with it." "Play with grammar?" I repeated, a little confused. He nodded. "Yes, I use it with stories. I turn it into games. I don't just memorize rules. I make grammar part of my world." That short conversation didn't give me a new grammar skill, but it gave me something more important: curiosity. Until that moment, grammar felt like a punishment, something you had to survive. But that man made it sound like something creative, flexible, even joyful. I walked home thinking about his words. I play with it. It was such a small sentence, but it stayed with me. That night, I opened my old grammar book again. But this time, I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel pressure. I just felt interested. I didn't try to study. I didn't force myself to understand the whole chapter. Instead, I closed the book, picked up a notebook, and wrote something simple. I called it Day 1. I wrote 5 sentences about my daily life using the present simple. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I eat breakfast, I go to work, I sleep at 10 p.m. That's it. 5 real things from my day. No pressure, no fear. And you know what? It felt good. It felt possible. I closed the book and opened a notebook. That first night, when I wrote just 5 little sentences, it felt like something new had begun. I didn't try to be perfect. I didn't worry if the grammar was exactly right. I simply wrote what I do in a day. And the best part? I didn't feel overwhelmed. For the first time, grammar didn't feel like a giant mountain. It felt like a small step, and that changed everything. The next day, I wrote again, this time in the past tense. I woke up. I brushed my teeth. I ate breakfast. I went to work. I slept at 10 p.m. The same sentences, just in the past. It was so simple. But it helped me see grammar, feel grammar, not just memorize it. Each day, I picked a small tense, a small action, a small moment from my real life. I wasn't studying grammar like a subject. I was using it to talk about me. I wrote things like, on Sunday, I cleaned my room. I listened to music. I made coffee. I watched my favorite show in English. No rules, no tests, just real language from real life. After a while, I started talking to myself in English. Not long speeches, just short sentences. I'd ask myself, what did I do today? And I'd answer out loud. I cooked lunch. I went for a walk. I watched cartoons with English subtitles. It sounds funny, I know. But it worked. Speaking helped me connect grammar to my voice, and I started to feel more natural. I didn't need a fancy book. I didn't need a perfect study plan. I just needed a notebook and a small promise. 1 real sentence a day. That was my rule. Just 1. Some days I wrote more, some days less. But I showed up. Slowly, grammar started to feel like a friend. A quiet friend who didn't judge me. That notebook became my space. My grammar space. Not full of rules, but full of my life. 1 sentence at a time. Talk to yourself in English. It's not crazy. One of the things that helped me the most was something simple and a little silly. I started talking to myself in English. Not in public, of course. Just at home, when I was alone, brushing my hair, making tea, walking to the bus stop. I whispered little things like, I'm washing the dishes, I'm making pasta. I'm tired today, but I feel happy. At first, I felt shy, even though no one could hear me. I thought, am I crazy? But over time, I realized this was one of the best ways to practice. It was real, it was personal, and it was completely free. Soon, I made it a routine. In the morning, I'd say my plans out loud. Today, I will go to the market. I will call my friend. I will write an email. At night, I'd ask myself, what did I do today? And answer in the past tense, I went to the market. I bought apples. I talked to my friend. I wrote an email. I wasn't practicing grammar. I was living it. Sometimes I used English subtitles when I watched cartoons or easy TV shows. I paused the video and repeated the lines. I tried to say them with the same emotion, the same rhythm. And when I didn't understand something, I wrote it down and searched later. No pressure, just curiosity. It was slow, But that slowness was beautiful. It gave me time to connect grammar to my world, not the world of textbooks. My voice, my life, my stories. When you speak to yourself, grammar becomes a tool, not a test. You're not studying rules, you're building your voice. And every sentence, even a small one like I drank coffee, becomes a step forward. So if you ever feel stuck, try this. Just speak, out loud, to yourself, with love and patience. You'll be surprised how powerful it is. My mistakes became my teachers. In the beginning, I was afraid of making mistakes. I thought every mistake was a sign that I was failing. If I said, "He go to work," instead of "he goes to work," I felt embarrassed. I imagined people thinking, "She doesn't know grammar." That fear stopped me from speaking. It stopped me from writing. I wanted everything to be perfect before I even tried. But slowly, I started to see things differently. I realized that every mistake was actually a gift. A small teacher whispering, "Look here, learn this, try again." And once I saw it that way, I stopped being afraid. I stopped hiding. I remember one day I wrote, "Yesterday I go to the park." Then I paused and smiled. I knew something was off. So I opened my notebook, looked again, and corrected myself. Yesterday, I went to the park. It was a small moment, but it felt like victory. Not because I got it right, but because I found it. I discovered it on my own, and that felt powerful. That's when I started enjoying my mistakes. Yes, enjoying. Because they showed me where to grow. They weren't enemies. They were guides. When I said something wrong and noticed it later, I didn't feel bad. I felt curious. I wanted to know why. I wanted to try again. And I gave myself permission to smile at my mistakes. To say, "Okay, not perfect, but better." I didn't need to fix everything in one day. I just needed to keep walking, one honest sentence at a time. Mistakes made me more human. They made my grammar journey kinder, softer, and more real. And the more I accepted them, the more I grew. Not just in grammar, but in confidence. So if you're afraid of making mistakes, let me tell you something. They are not signs of failure. They are signs of learning. Let them teach you. Let them walk beside you, and never forget. Every good speaker was once a beginner who made 100 small, beautiful mistakes. Grammar is in your life, not just your books. For a long time, I believed grammar only lived inside books. Long chapters, difficult explanations, complicated exercises. But one day, I realized something powerful. Grammar is not just in your books. It's in your life. Every word we say, every message we send, every little story we tell, that's grammar in action. Not perfect grammar, but real grammar. Living grammar. I remember discovering the parts of speech, the 8 building blocks of English. It sounded so technical. Nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, interjections. At first, I wanted to memorize everything, like a list. But then I asked myself, can I see these in my life? So I played a game. I wrote one silly sentence using as many parts of speech as I could, like this: "Wow." The small dog quickly jumped on the sofa and barked loudly. Let's see. Wow, that's an interjection. Dog, a noun. Jumped, a verb. Small, an adjective. Quickly and loudly, adverbs. On, a preposition, and a conjunction. all in one sentence. I smiled when I saw it, because it wasn't just a rule, it was a picture from real life. It was fun. After that, I started noticing grammar everywhere. On signs, in music lyrics, in funny YouTube comments. I didn't try to analyze everything. I just noticed. My brain slowly became more familiar with the language, just by living with it. Grammar stopped being something I had to fight with. It became something I played with. I even started making little stories using new grammar points. Like, yesterday I visited my grandma. She gave me cookies. We drank tea and laughed about old stories. Short, sweet, and full of grammar. But from my life, not a textbook. The truth is, grammar is not about rules. It's about meaning, about how we express who we are, where we've been, what we dream about. When you connect grammar to your world, your coffee, your family, your feelings, it becomes part of you. And that's when everything changes. One small step a day, that's how I learned. Looking back, I didn't change everything in one day. I didn't become confident overnight. There was no magic trick, no special course, no secret shortcut. What truly helped me was something simple. One small step, every single day. That's it. Just one. I didn't learn 10 tenses in a week. I learned one example, one sentence, one idea. Slowly, softly, and naturally. Some days, I only wrote 2 sentences. Other days, I just spoke to myself for 5 minutes. Sometimes I listened to a podcast and tried to repeat one phrase. It didn't feel like studying. It felt like planting seeds, quietly, patiently, and with time, those seeds grew. After 3 months, grammar didn't scare me anymore. I still made mistakes, of course I did, but I wasn't afraid of them. I started to see grammar differently. It became a tool I could use, not a wall I had to climb. After 6 months, I started speaking more freely. And after 1 year, grammar became normal. Not perfect. Not always easy. But normal. Part of my everyday life. I realized something beautiful. When you stop trying to be perfect, you start making progress. You stop running and start walking with purpose. That's what one small step does. It builds trust. It creates calm. It gives you the strength to continue, even on hard days. So if you feel lost right now, or stuck, or tired, I understand. I was there too. But you don't need to do everything today. You just need one small step. Write one sentence, say one thing out loud, learn one phrase you can use. Tomorrow, do one more, and slowly, you will change. Your grammar will grow stronger, your confidence will become louder, and your voice, your true voice, will shine through. And one day, someone will ask you, "How did you become so good at English grammar?" And you'll smile and you'll say, "Let me tell you a story." So, my dear friend, if grammar ever made you feel small, confused, or afraid, I hope this story gave you something softer, something warmer, a reminder that learning doesn't have to hurt. You don't need to rush. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going, with love, with curiosity, and with kindness to yourself. Grammar is not a wall between you and English. It's a bridge, and you can cross it, one small, simple step at a time. So take a deep breath. Smile at your notebook. Write one sentence today. Talk to yourself, even just for a minute. Make a tiny mistake, and learn from it with joy. And then, come back tomorrow. We'll be right here, waiting for you. cheering for you, because here, in Cozy English, you are never alone. We learn together. Slowly, gently, and beautifully. See you soon.